5 laws that harm African Americans the most. 1. The war on drugs. The war on drugs hurts everyone. Because drugs are illegal, people don't tend to seek medical help for addiction issues. It also leads to unnecessary incarcerations. Drugs should be treated as a health issue, not a criminal one. Just like how Prohibition gave rise to the criminal enterprises selling alcohol, like Al Capone, the war on drugs creates an environment for gangs to prosper. Gang violence is responsible for around 32% of all gun deaths. Gangs are why the homicide rate among young African Americans is so high. 2. Public schools. Public school systems do not face competitive pressures. That is why they do such a horrible job at educating children. If schools were privatized and there was some sort of voucher program, children would have access to a better education. Giving the government monopoly power over schools has not been working. Moreover, teachers' unions harm students. By definition, these unions are pro-members of their union, not pro-students. Among other things, they make it difficult to fire bad teachers. Privatizing schools would also give parents more control over their child's education. Private schools compete with each other over curriculum, policy, facilities quality, and price. Private schools give parents, not the government, the power to custom tailor their kids' education. The market responds to consumer demand. The government only responds to political demands. 3. The minimum wage. When young African Americans leave public schools, they don't have the skills to get high-paying jobs because their government education was so bad. Their economic productivity is low. The minimum wage is a law that forces businesses to discriminate against low-productivity workers. There's a reason why African American unemployment is so high. The minimum wage creates unemployment. It creates situations where people can't even get a job to build up their experience and skills to get high-paying jobs down the road. In the late 1940s, there was very low African American teenage unemployment because the minimum wage hadn't been adjusted for inflation in a long time, so there essentially wasn't a minimum wage. And this is just one example. All the historical data shows that the minimum wage creates unemployment that hits teenage African Americans really hard. The minimum wage also makes it easier for employers to discriminate based on race. The minimum wage creates a surplus in the supply of workers. There are more people applying for jobs than there are jobs that are available. This allows employers to discriminate on economically irrelevant factors like race and gender. In a competitive market with no minimum wage, employers pay a price for discriminating. If they discriminate, they lose money and are outperformed by their competitors. This isn't just theory. The evidence shows that the more competitive a job market, the less discrimination there is. 4. Affirmative action. The Supreme Court recently essentially ended affirmative action for college admissions, but we haven't seen the total end of it yet. Affirmative action leads to higher dropout rates and lower class ranks for minorities. When people are not admitted to a school based on merit, they perform worse than their peers. And when they drop out because they are performing poorly, they don't tend to re-enter college at another school. They end up with no college degree at all. They also are less likely to make friends at school. If you're not up to the same academic standards as others, data shows that you are more socially isolated. Affirmative action leaves many African Americans with no college degree, college debt, and a crappy, short college experience. It makes them worse off than without affirmative action. Affirmative action is also by definition racist. It discriminates based on the color of people's skin. Promoting racism in any form is harmful for society as a whole. Diversity is important in an academic environment, but racial diversity does not ensure things like diversity of experience, diversity of opinion, or diversity of thought. 5. The welfare state. Welfare doesn't encourage work or productivity, and certain applications of welfare can even encourage single-parent households. When you see people with one-parent households of any race, they tend to perform poorly in society. Instead of welfare, we should look to private charity, or a replacement of absolutely all welfare with a negative income tax. This is something that has a high level of support from economists, but to be discussed in a different video. Notwithstanding, it would only be viable if all other types of welfare were totally eliminated. Democrats get the vast majority of African Americans to vote for them. They take this voting group for granted and implement policies that actually harm them. If African Americans started voting for Republicans, this really wouldn't help them that much. Both parties are to blame for the horrible government policies that screw over everyone, including minorities. We need to stop the two-party duopoly if we want to see real progress.